Hey everyone, it's Katie. Welcome back. I know it's been a really long time since I've posted anything. I know it's been crazy due to COVID and lots of other family stuff and just work and all that good stuff. But I wanted to share 3 new journals that I have out, and I'll just get right into it. So the first, there's actually 2 field guides, if you can see those. The first one is a vintage Peterson field guide, which is from the 60s. So I just put the corners on here. This one has gold. There's 3 signatures. I didn't put a pocket on this side just because I really loved the lining of it. I kept the original paper from the original field guide. So I put a little pocket there with some ephemera and a little embellished, I don't know what you would call that, fabric flip that you can take out and use as you want. And this is just, all of these journals are in my usual style where everything is pretty much you're able to move out and kind of make it your own. There's a lot of, this is vintage ledger paper, Edith Holden, and some vintage catalog paper. I tried to include as much of a variety of all of my vintage papers as I possibly could. I never feel like I have enough. I keep collecting and collecting, and then when I go to make a journal, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have a ton. Here's some cards I made. There's little bags that I sewed into the signatures. More vintage paper. I would say a good majority of the paper is old, but then there's a lot of, here's the middle of the signature. A lot of it is stuff that I've coffee dyed or avocado dyed too. And there's bird pages, graph paper, writing paper. There's plenty of room to journal on. I know a lot of people really appreciate that, so I try to have a variety of not only book pages and botanical pages, but also places to journal on. There's the other bag that I sewed in. There's a envelope with ephemera and different goodies. So just more different types of paper, botanical pages. Some more avocado dyed paper and ephemera. There's just so much stuff in here. It's hard for me to really go through everything. I made these little paper clusters, so I added a couple in there. You can, they're just paper, so I guess you could make them into paper clips. You could glue them to a paper clip. You could make them a tuck spot on a page. There's just a lot of different things you can do with these, but like I said, everything is, you're able to take it out and put it where you want it. There's some of that vintage ledger. And I don't know if I already said this, but there's 3 signatures. And there's approximately, here's a little pocket I made with another one of those fabric flips. There's approximately 20 pages in a signature. Some are more, some are less. I'm not really good at counting. I just kind of put however many pages fits in the book before it starts getting too large. There's another little bag that sewed in the signature. And yes, there's more vintage ledger paper, which is my favorite, and book pages. All of the signatures have these little book pages in the middle. This paper is really old. This is like from the early 1900s, definitely. So yeah, I don't want to bore you and go through the whole thing, but I did want to show as much as I could so I can get this up on my Etsy. I have sold a couple other journals. I've been making different bits of ephemera and projects, getting kind of sidetracked with everything going on and homeschool and all of that. So yes, I'm trying to be better at YouTube is all I can say. So here's some vintage. This was like a whole page. These were cool pockets that I just folded in half. And here's another one of those handmade cards I made. and writing spaces, receipts, lots of different envelopes to kind of play around with. Here's some, this is really cool, this ledger paper right here, if I could just pick that up. It's from like a teacher's ledger, which I've never seen before, with the students' names and taking attendance. It was really beautiful. I don't have a lot of it, so there's only one in each journal. And there's the end of the signature, and like I said, I kept the same background, if you want to call it. And each of my journals, as always, comes with a huge bag of goodies, and these are little matchbook notebooks that I made, and envelopes and handmade. Let me just take all this out. So there's little envelopes and handmade pockets and bags that I made, wallpaper bags. This is a little I can't even think, envelope that I made. There's tags, little pockets. I made these out of Project Life cards. These are fun to make. And oh, I put an extra one in there. And this is a little folder I made out of Tim Holtz paper with, these are some vintage seed packets. There's some old ephemera here from games, flashcards, and different bits of ephemera. Some of it is old, some of it's new. And here's some vintage recipe cards from the 70s or 80s. And recipe cards, receipts, time cards, there's guest checks, some of this beautiful ledger that I printed on, I don't know what you would call this kind of paper. I guess it's just kind of like tracing paper, but it turned out really beautiful. And here's a vintage check, blank check that I have. So I'll just go through quickly with the other ones, just so you can see. If you came here from my Etsy, you can kind of just get a feel for what's in the journals. Again, there's pockets. This is, I'm sorry, this is the wildflower field guide one that I made. This one's from the 70s. The bird one, this one's from the 60s. So this one's from the 70s, field guide, wildflowers, pockets with ephemera. Same kind of stuff that I add in all of my journals, as much different pieces of all the books that I've collected, all the vintage books. And more bags with tags I made, music paper, ledger paper. 3 signatures as well. Just kind of feel, sorry, I'm trying to flip through here. Another pocket with a bunch of goodies inside, ephemera, printed. I got a new printer, so I'm just having fun printing lots of goodies out. And I was thinking about, here's the middle of the first, between the first and second signature, I was thinking about offering some scanned images for digital downloads, but I was also thinking about offering the printed version of them, because I know that digital downloads are popular. Here's a guest check I made with a little cluster on it. I know digital downloads are popular, but a lot of people do not have printers or enough ink. When I had my old printer, I was trying to print digital downloads all the time, and I was running out of ink like every couple hundred pages. But this new printer I have is lasting longer. So yes, if you would be interested in having printouts of vintage invoices, let me see if I can get an example. So here's another one of those. Kind of, I love the feel to this. Tracing paper, an invoice printed on that. And then there's these kind of things, and I love the feel of this paper. It just feels really old, and that's what I was going for. I was printing on all different types of paper, trying to figure out what, you know, had the best feel to it, vintage feel, because I do have some real vintage documents and invoices, and they're just thin, and I don't know how to describe it, but they're softer. It's not like printing on regular computer paper, so I think I was able to get the look of that down pretty well, so I'm excited. There's some more vintage. Again, there's the center of the signature with these little book pages. These are fun. And same thing, more goodies. This is a vintage game piece, and all of the signatures have kind of this like Tim Holtz-y thick cardstock to hold them in. There's some more ephemera, and another one of those guest checks. Just lots of goodies. I try to cram as much stuff in here that I possibly can. There's some printouts for ephemera. It starts getting really thick, so I kind of have to hold back. But yeah, so there's that. There's more of these cards. There's vintage flashcards in here. Each one of my journals, they have similar, ooh, there's a little piece of something in there. They have similar layouts and pieces in them, but they're all a little bit different. So we're getting towards the end. There's the back of it, original inlay, and a pocket with some ephemera. Okay, so, and again, that comes with a whole goodie of the same stuff. So then the last one is, I love this one. This is made out of a vintage, really old 1920s high school mathematics book. And I just realized I didn't mention the size of the field guides. The field guides are 7.5 by 4.5, and then this one is a little bit wider. It's 5.25 by 7.5, so it's the same length, it's just a little bit wider, which was kind of cool to work with. I was able to cut the pages a little bit bigger. But here's a pocket, handmade pocket, another one of those little cluster things I made. There's some ephemera in here, and that's got the original lining too. Here's another vintage invoice I printed. There's Edith Holden pages, and again, vintage ledger, a lot of vintage book pages. And I just love the different feel of the paper. Let me move this out of the way. I just love the different feelings of all the different papers that I use and put in these journals. Here's some vellum. Journaling goodies in here. These are vintage paper bags that my friend Val from Georgia sent me, and I'm obsessed with these. I love kind of that Victorian advertising look to it, but I guess they are really vintage, so that's exciting. I was excited when she sent me those. Thanks, Val. And some more vintage book pages and vintage checks. When I go through these, I love these. This is from an old travel book I have, but it's just so fun to revisit all of the books that I have. I just keep collecting and collecting, so finally I kind of needed to make some journals and use up that papers. And printed invoice, same thing, 3 signatures, about 20 pages per signature. Lots of goodies. I printed this out on, I love the look of that, how that turned out on that paper. It's like rice paper almost. A lot of botanical stuff. There's the other pocket. This is from a really old newspaper reproduction from this one's from 1889, but that's some of my favorite paper that I have. Here's some pockets and a fabric flip, and there's another signature, some vintage ledger. That one was huge. And more paper, printed invoice. There's little bag pockets in here. And just gonna flip through this really quick. I'm gonna be posting these on my Etsy soon. The only thing about Etsy is it only lets you post 10 pictures, and for a journal, I just find it so difficult to portray what my journal actually looks like. So I realize I probably need to start posting videos so people can see inside the journal, because the pictures just don't do it justice. By the time I post the cover and the spine and the back, it's, you know, there's already 4, so, or cover, spine, back, there's 3, sorry, and the inside there's 4. Yeah, by the time I post that, there's only a couple of pages left for me to post the inside, and it's just hard. I know a lot of people that have bought my journals have said, like, definitely the pictures did not do it justice. They were surprised to see all the stuff that the journals came with, because I couldn't really show how much stuff that they come with. There's some vintage cards. I'm sorry I'm flipping through so fast. I'm trying to make this a somewhat short video. Lots of vintage ledger, some coffee dyed scrapbook paper. I don't do a lot of that, but I love some of these prints. There's some wallpaper, also from my friend Val. I love this. This is one of my favorites ever. It's hard to use up, but it just looks really great in journals. So, yep, there's all that. I'm not going to show everything because I kind of like for parts of my journal to be a surprise. I love these pages. They're the names of different flowers and their meanings. This is a bird watching, from a bird watching book, where you can mark your date and location that you saw each bird. And I've been wanting to post this journal for so long. I just haven't had time to even fill it with goodies. Here's a coffee dyed bag with some goodies in it. But I have been working on a lot of different projects, actually. I was thinking about making a tutorial. Oh, here's one of the projects that I worked on. These were really fun. I posted this in Junk Journal Junkies chat group, I think, on Facebook. I posted this little project that I made out of book pages and doilies. I just lined the back with like cardstock scrapbook paper and filled it with offcuts and scraps of papers from making journals. So it was fun to use up my scraps, and this is just something easy. But I was gonna post a little kind of tutorial-ish thing for these, and then probably for my fabric clusters. This has been well loved. This is from the 20s, so there's like, I think maybe paint, but there's some markings here. It's definitely been used, which I love it. I think it gives it character. But yeah, so I'm just happy to show these off, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm going to be making more videos soon, I promise, of different projects that I've been working on, and hopefully more journals. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.